There's power in collective bargaining, power in a union. And we're not going to get there in the semiconductor industry unless we're capable of building that power as we've been talking about today. Okay, so that's a little bit about me. And I want to talk just prior to our panelists. This is all about examples that give us hope for the future, about how we're going to build the power, not just for collective bargaining, but the transformation of the economic transformation that takes us into the 21st century for the Green New Deal that Harry talked about. The vision of bringing, combining labor's agenda with the environmental agenda, with the community's agenda. So that was pretty cool. And these are some examples that are taking us towards that. That work, and the work that we've been talking about today, is built on the shoulders of work that we've done over decades. How about a shout out and a round of applause for Lenny Siegel, who's been at this for 40 years. And don't forget to buy his book. That's still not outdated, on the dark side of the chip. Yeah, pretty cool. And so speaking of that work, I'm not too good at this. Let's see what happens. Oh, maybe I got to point it that way. Hey, oh, it disappeared. There we go. I don't know if you can see that, but there's Lenny in the back over there on the right, and there's me over there on the left in 1985 at a gathering just like this, which is why I was insisting that we go out and take that picture, because we took this picture in '85 as we gathered together to form a group called Integrated Circuit, which was kind of a play off of the chip industry's integrated circuits, bringing together the East Coast people like myself who are working with the semiconductor industry and building worker power in the 128 technology corridor around Boston, with people in Silicon Valley that were contending with the same issues that we had. And we had never gotten together until this meeting, where we brought both coasts together for a national get-together, just like today, to talk about how we could contend with the industry. Very cool time. I have this picture framed on my wall. And there's a lot of other amazing people there, but I won't go into it. And of course, some of them aren't alive, but that's, and we give them, presente, right? We give them the shout out because we respect the past and our elders. And so our little group, we had a newsletter around the circuit, and we just, you can see it's like typewritten, you copied it after you typed it on a Mimeo machine. And so we had a newsletter, and we distributed that newsletter around to chip workers and to the communities. And then, as we evolved, we issued a call to action. And look at this headline. I don't know if you can read it. Chip industry threatens workers' health and community environment. Well, here we are again today. What goes around comes around. Oh, let's see what else. So I want to talk about two examples of ways in which people came together in the 1980s and 90s and how they had some success. So these are Superfund sites in Santa Clara County, Silicon Valley, one of the most polluted regions in the country, and all of them as a result of the electronics industry, semiconductor industry pollution. A group came together around it, and Lenny talked about it earlier, to deal with that. That was called the Silicon Valley Toxics Coalition. Let's see if there's a slide about that. Yeah. Silicon Valley Toxics Coalition. And that group led a campaign to clean up, to get the designation for the Superfund sites, to work with the fire chiefs to get the double-walled pipes that Lenny described, because prior to then they had single-wall pipes that leaked and no alarm system when that occurred. That's how you got all that pollution. And they were able to get double-walled pipes, working with firefighters, working with the fire chiefs. Pretty amazing campaign. They got something else that was super important that gets less attention, but from our standpoint, as organizers, raise your hand if you're an organizer. Come on, everybody put your hand up. We've all got to be organizers. Everybody's an organizer. And you keep your hand up all for the rest of the session, brother. Yeah, make a fist, all right. So they got the right to know about what chemicals Intel, AMD, and other semiconductor manufacturers were making at that time. So when the ordinance was passed, I got 5 minutes. When the ordinance was passed, they won the right to know. This is one of the most powerful demands that we can make on the industry, which is, it's not national security, state secret. This isn't proprietary information. We need to know what you're using, when you're using it, and how much of it you're using. It's a fundamental demand that every community can advance. SVTC did that successfully. Here's another example. IBM Workers United. Back in the day, IBM was the biggest computer company in the country and had major semiconductor production facilities in this country and around the world. Workers came together at IBM to build worker power. The gold star standard of achieving collective bargaining wasn't something that they could do. They couldn't get majority support, but they had a non-majority union called IBM Workers United, which morphed into the alliance at IBM with the support from the Communications Workers of America that embraced this non-majority group to fight for worker power on the job using our NLRB right to engage in concerted and collective activity on the job. Good stuff. And IBM Workers United, oh, this is cool. IBM Workers United worked with unions in Japan and Europe that had collective bargaining rights with IBM, had a seat at the table in Japan and in Europe. They worked with that group to kind of assert those same kinds of things with IBM in this country. And I had the privilege of going to and buying shares in IBM and going to their annual meeting with 25 people from Japan, with workers from Germany and from France, and with US IBMers to go to the annual meeting to speak directly to the boss, whose name I've forgotten, but anyhow, real good guy, the head of IBM. We had a good dialogue about respect for workers' rights. Oh, there's a cartoon from the campaign, 12-hour workday, and that's one of the issues right today in the semiconductor industry still, is the unreasonable scheduling and work hours. And this was a billboard, and there's a meeting of all the IBM worker unions, including IBM Workers United, the alliance at IBM, about layoffs and job cuts in the industry. I'm going to wrap up because I've run out of time, but we have an industrial policy initiative in the 1990s called SEMITEC. It was funded with $100 million of government funds and $100 million of industry money. It was the biggest industrial policy at the time. We were able to pull together a coalition that said, you're not just going to research smaller and faster microchips with government money. you've got to do research on making cleaner and safer chips with our money. And Semitech refused to do it, but we went to Congress and we got 10% of their budget allocated from Congress for environmentally safe research and occupational safety and health on the job research from the Semitech Corporation. So there are examples of ways in which we can win. Now we're going to hear from our panelists. Oh yeah, let's just skip through all of this bullshit. All right, there we go. That's you. But our first speaker is going to be Cynthia. And Cynthia, come on, do you want to stand up? No, you're going to sit? Cynthia is the organizer with the Painters Union and Jobs with Justice here in Phoenix. She is building this coalition right here, and with the work that we've done today, she's building this coalition so that we can win everything that we've been talking about. Cynthia?
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the out-of-town folks for being here, Phoenix, Arizona. I first want to introduce myself and my story of how I became an organizer and activist here in the lovely Valley. So my name is Cynthia Diaz. I was born and raised here in Phoenix. My parents migrated from Mexico. They first arrived to California and then moved to Phoenix after learning it was more affordable to live here. My ancestors come from an indigenous village in southern Mexico called Chilacachapa in the state of Guerrero. And here in Phoenix, we have about 100 families that come from Chilacachapa. I grew up going to parties and spending holidays with lots of people, not blood related, but still people that understood our background and our situation as first-generation Americans. I was born here, but my parents were not. My dad became a U.S. citizen, and my mom was deported in 2011 when ICE raided our home. This experience moved me to think critically and question why I was experiencing this injustice of forced family separation. I later learned that many other families here in Phoenix were also being torn apart due to immigration. 3 years after my mom was deported, I met a national organization that was organizing to bring back family members that were deported due to immigration. I signed up as a first-year college student because I had my mom in mind, but I also had other friends that experienced similar situations. This was where I saw firsthand the power of speaking up. This is where I learned about creating pathways outside of existing policies so that we can overcome injustice together. In April of 2014, I went to the White House when Obama was in office, along with other family members, and we staged a hunger strike for 9 days. This got national attention from media and legislators, and shortly after, I got a call from my mom that she was being allowed to enter the U.S. legally. This was a rare win because my mom was told by lawyers that she had less than 1% chance of returning to the U.S. legally. So this motivated me to keep sharing my experience because of this rare achievement, but also to share to others what hope and drive can get us. So now I am in a position where I share my story openly to inspire others to keep speaking up, to keep showing up to public meetings, to hold their elected officials accountable because it is their job to better the lives of their constituents. Thank you. I have a 1-year-old son, and I am planning to raise him here in Phoenix. It's important for me that my son has an opportunity if he's interested, to apply for a high-paying union job that is safe in the semiconductor field. Before working as an organizer for Job with Justice and the Painters Union, I had heard of the semiconductor industry because my dad, an IBW electrician, worked at Intel and TSMC. He told me how big TSMC plant is and how many years it would take to build this giant plant. As a CHIPS organizer, I have been meeting with workers and people that live close to these plants, and I'm hearing concerns such as water contamination and the safety of their workers. From speaking with engineers inside TSMC, I am hearing that they work 12 hours a day, some days exceeding 16 hours. They are tasked with jobs that they have not had proper training for. Safety protocols are changed frequently with little notice and often only use PPE instead of eliminating hazards. Most hourly jobs do not provide benefits for at least 1 year, and layoffs happen frequently. Another engineer has openly shared how Intel keeps engineering jobs out of the hands of Arizonians, like posting fake ads in the newspapers. They satisfy a labor market test, and the point is that no one locally is applying to these jobs. At Intel, we found out that PFAS are not screened out in the wastewater. Back in June, we put together a press conference to call attention to Chandler City Council to address PFAS in their wastewater permit. And as we understand, Intel's wastewater permit with the city of Chandler has never required them to address the forever chemicals known as PFAS. For 45 years, Intel's wastewater permit with the city of Chandler has overlooked the critical need for PFAS cleanup. We are hopeful that next year's wastewater permit will address PFAS contamination in Chandler's wastewater. If you live in Chandler or have friends that live in Chandler, please talk to me afterwards to join me in this effort. For people that are not working in the industry, they are still experiencing side effects of the rise of housing, the rise of energy and water bills. Another common concern that I hear is, where is the water coming from? Where are we getting all this electricity from? So we have semiconductor industries being built here. We're also having data centers being built here. Someone mentioned Project Blue earlier. I want to bring up Project Blue again because Project Blue in Tucson is an example of how community members informed each other of what this data center would create, and with organizing and talking to your neighbors, they were showing up during public hearings, at city council meetings, at board of supervisor meetings, and they were able to get lots of attention, even national attention. The concern comes back to water. Where is the water coming from, and how will these factories ensure there is no water contamination? I have met with residents outside of the Phoenix area, like in Tucson, where they have experienced the results of water contamination. And I am learning what it does to them long-term, to their families and their neighbors. So it's important for us to realize that this has happened before, water contamination has happened before, and we need to keep sharing our stories so that we can avoid and prevent the same happening here in Phoenix. I have been meeting with people in leadership such as the governor's office, the Office of Resiliency. I am learning from energy and data center coalitions, as well as indigenous coalitions. Intel in Chandler is across the street from Gila River Indian Community, and TSMC and Amcor are in the northern side of Phoenix, where we have empty land, but really it is indigenous land. I am bringing together a coalition to co-create a campaign that will prioritize worker power and community power. As I have been meeting with people from community and workers, I have also been building relationships with existing community organizations and labor unions to let them know about communities' concerns to strategize together. 2 examples of goals we are working towards is project labor agreements and community benefits agreements. Both of these need to be legally enforceable in order to be successful. I am here today with my colleagues at CHIPS Communities United, the Painters Union, Jobs with Justice, and as a resident of Phoenix to call on the semiconductor industry and the elected officials to make the semiconductor production a high-road industry. This means we want high-paying union jobs, safe jobs, and of course, the best environmental protection. Phoenix, Arizona is making headlines nationally because we are the epicenter of semiconductor production. SEMICON West is here in Phoenix for the first time, and Phoenix is growing rapidly. We could be a city where we show the rest of the country how the industry can be a great neighbor and employer. When we fight, we win.
So next up is Kathy Bartelheim. She is with a group called Citizens for Smart Growth, and she's going to talk about a campaign that they had with a company called Amcor in Peoria. Kathy, have at it.
You're going to do my slides for me?
Yeah. You just tell me next slide.
All right.
Oh, hold on. There we go. Okay, you're on.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Who would have thought that speaking at city council meetings would have had me end up here? I mean, kind of shocking. Judith, thank you for inviting us. We're incredibly humbled to be here, and we've learned so much. I feel like this little preschooler at class, learning everything and acronyms and things that are so new to me. Imagine living in the crazy rat race of Southern California where we raised our sons and lived for 30 years, and then looking for a quieter existence when my husband retired 9 years ago, we moved to the peace and serenity of the Sonoran Desert. In Peoria, Arizona here, we have miles of open space, hills and mountains surrounding us with majestic saguaro cacti, bobcats, wild burros, javelina, and the most beautiful, peaceful neighborhood imaginable, where on any given day you really might hear the bray of a burro or the howl of coyotes at night with the sky full of stars. It is truly idyllic. We fell in love with Vistancia 20 years ago when we came to visit family. Now, one morning we woke up to discover that our city leaders had stuck a toxic semiconductor packaging plant called Amcor in the very heart of our community and located immediately adjacent to a brand new K-12 charter school and thousands of homes. What a slap in the face. I am here today representing the group Citizens for Smart Growth Peoria AZ, and this is our story. Citizens for Smart Growth Peoria AZ was started by 4 amazing women, 2 who were friends and 2 who were complete strangers. These women came together to fight a proposed airport in Peoria, and the Citizens Group was founded to help protect the community from development like this. These 4 Peoria residents, Megan Staub, a registered nurse and a realtor, Sherry Orr, a psychotherapist, and Cheryl Reddy and Mary Martin, both who are retired grandmothers who became activists. They formed a 501c4 nonprofit as they wanted to be official and also wanted to be taken seriously. They banded together to fight that proposed and unnecessary and highly unpopular airport in our quiet community, and also wanted to fight any other toxic industrial development that might affect our quality of life. After the success of stopping that airport, they poured their energies into fighting the city on the placement of Amcor in our neighborhood. It was at this point in time that I joined the group and began to volunteer. I am 65 years old and have never been involved in anything political. Let me begin by helping you visualize a picture of our beautiful Vistancia community. Vistancia is comprised of 4 distinct communities: the village of Vistancia, Trilogy, a large 55-plus retirement community, Blackstone Country Club, and North Point. We have 3 schools in our neighborhoods, and it is a thriving, family-friendly bedroom community. Vistancia has been voted the #1 master planned community in the state of Arizona for the past 10 years, and Blackstone Country Club Golf Course is ranked among the very top private golf courses in the state as well. These are huge selling features for the city of Peoria, and so you might be asking yourselves the very same question that we all asked: why would it make any sense for our city leaders to put a heavy industrial plant in the middle of our neighborhood? Residents could never understand the rationale for that decision. Several years ago, at a city town hall presentation, officials presented a Scottsdale-style Main Street development to us where neighbors could walk to shops and dining, and where we were told it would be a destination location for the entire community. As you can imagine, everyone was very happy about this proposal. But this dream was cast aside when we were informed that Amcor, a semiconductor chip packaging plant, would be placed in this location. It was first presented to us as a 500,000 square foot, 4-story packaging plant, and that was bad enough. Then we were informed that it had shockingly exploded in size to a 2.7 million square foot monstrosity, 10 stories high with 24/7 operations, an expected 2,000 employees, which equals what, 4,000 car trips today? Per day, can you say, like major traffic nightmare? With semi-trucks coming and going all hours of the day and night, and expecting to use 2 million gallons of water per day. I can now tell you more about the dangers of forever toxic chemicals or Arizona's extreme drought than I ever would have imagined. So how is it possible that these 4 women started a little group that was able to grow to be so incredibly successful? They started a Facebook page, got volunteers and donations, hired 2 attorneys who specialize in situations like ours, gathered team leaders, and found neighbors who had strengths in different areas to research the history of the zoning for our community. Even though city officials stated that the area was always zoned industrial, our research determined otherwise. After consulting with attorneys, we felt we had a very strong case to fight this proposal. We discovered inconsistencies with the planned zoning and usage of that area. We found that city officials had made an administrative internal office change on zoning, which then bypassed any open public discussion on zoning changes. Therefore, it was done without citizens' knowledge and our ability to discuss it at council meetings. We feel we were intentionally kept in the dark by their lack of transparency and were completely blindsided by this proposal. After hundreds of hours of research, the citizens group, armed with our facts, approached city officials with what we had learned. Residents showed up to city council meetings to publicly oppose Amcor's placement in a residential community and spoke passionately about water usage, Arizona's extreme drought, forever toxic chemicals that could be released into our air and water, causing major health concerns, and the risks of a chemical spill in a community with only 2 roads out. We were greatly concerned with property values, and many residents had already sold their homes and moved, or people were prepared to sell if Amcor was not relocated. Many parents also withdrew their children from the brand new K-12 charter school whose property abutted the Amcor site.
Time for a new slide.
Well, it's right there. You can see where it was located right next to the school. People were up in arms about the location of Amcor in our neighborhood. Yeah, you can change it. We faced many challenges along the way, and one was getting public record requests fulfilled by the city. You guys all know how that works. We had to go to court with our attorney to make the city comply with our request. Even then, the records we did receive were heavily redacted. It was a battle, and there were roadblocks every step of the way. We heard the words national security a few times. Amcor also refused to respond to our group's request to discuss what chemicals they would be using. Big surprise. During our fight, we organized several large protests. Did you change it? One that we planned for maximum impact was at the State of the City address, in the pouring rain, I might add, and oh boy, did we have a lot of fun. I had never protested before. We held fundraisers, encouraged residents to write to the media and to contact county and state officials. We organized teams of volunteers to distribute 10,000 fact sheets to all the homes in our various communities. That was a job. We had neighbors step forward to help in incredible ways. We even had 10 to 15 speakers at each city council meeting, and our message was consistent. The placement of Amcor did not belong in a residential community, and we had significant environmental concerns. After hundreds of hours and months of arduous work, the city finally heard us. In August, they relocated Amcor out of our Vestancia neighborhood to an undeveloped area several miles away from our homes and schools. We achieved, thank you, we're pretty happy. We achieved a huge success, relocating it to an appropriate industrial site where it should have been in the first place. So what is our focus now? We continue to pursue and address the environmental concerns we all have. The new location is adjacent to 3 drinking water sources, 1 on top of our city aquifer, 2 adjacent to the CAP, or the Central Arizona Project Canal that transports water to many cities in Arizona. And 3, it is also right next to Peoria's newest wells, our direct water source. And a side note, while the city was pursuing Amcor to build in Vestancia, they closed 2 city wells due to forever toxic chemicals or PFAS contamination. The city will receive an approximate $2 million settlement from the 3M Corporation for this contamination, and they are also currently pursuing several other multinational corporations for the same contamination of our wells. Hello, Aaron Brockovich. This is our main goal now, working with the city to protect our water and working with Amcor in the hopes that they will build a closed-loop water system like TSMC is. We also hope that Amcor will be a respectful neighbor and that they will work to preserve and protect our natural resources. We want to make sure that our home values are protected, our livelihoods, drinking water, and our children are protected as well. FYI, I Googled it. Our location in Vestancia is 14.6 miles away from TSMC. You will be sure that we will be watching every single move our city officials make in the future. And oh, by the way, because how the whole Amcor in our neighborhood situation was handled by the city and how everyone has lost faith and trust in our elected officials, how our mayor and city council were not at all transparent in their dealing with the public, community members have begun a recall of our mayor and the entire city council. Yes. And it feels damn good, let me tell you. Bottom line, through this battle, we as a community have found our voice, and we are not afraid to use it. We have also garnered national media attention as well, and we were very excited when Peter Goodman, a reporter who covers the global economy for the New York Times, contacted us. He writes about the intersection of economics and geopolitics with an emphasis on the consequences for ordinary people. He flew out last month to meet with our team to discuss our fight and what we had accomplished. He was at my home for over 2 hours asking questions and taking notes for his expose on the chip industry. He's a wonderful man, and he was so impressed with our work and achievements. It is gratifying to be acknowledged for our hard work and our victory. He told us, quote, "Our story is an important one that needs to be told appropriately." It takes everyone stepping forward, getting involved, and speaking loudly and consistently to be heard. And do you know what? You can say that we were heard. We were like David versus Goliath, but as I like to say, we were like the little engine that could. We just kept plugging away. It was an exhausting, gargantuan battle, but along the way, so many residents stepped forward to donate money, gave untold hours to volunteer canvassing fact sheets, protesting, fundraising, and helping in so many wonderful ways. I've said it before, and I'll probably say it at least 100 times more, but I would not trade this experience for anything, as I have met the most amazing people. People I am so very proud to call my friends, truly just beautiful neighbors. And two of them are here today, Cheryl Orozco and Belinda Pfaff. Please keep reminding your city leaders that they should be representing you, the people. You elected them to represent you. And the more communities who rally up and fight, the more success stories there will be. Engage your residents, contact your local media, and stand up for what is right. Citizens for Smart Growth Peoria is not against growth. We advocate for smart growth. Thank you so much.
Wow. Give it up. Give it up for Kathy. We've got a new expression today, from not in my backyard to not without our input. And this is a shining example of a transformation of a group that's moved from not here to we want the right to know. We want to have a real say in what happens in our community. And great job. And so I want to close out with our final panelist, Khadija Ahmad. She's a sister of mine in this SEIU, where we work together. She's a dynamo organizer in Syracuse, New York, with Jobs That Move America and what's the other group? Just Jobs That Move America, yeah. But supported by CHIPS Communities United. Khadija?
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, and today has just been so inspiring, and hearing Kathy, your story, Cynthia, your story, and Rand, some of the stories you shared has just left me really excited about what we can all hopefully accomplish together. So my name is Khadija Ahmad. I am the Syracuse organizing manager for a nonprofit called Jobs to Move America. Jobs to Move America, sorry, which button do you push?
I'll do it.
Okay. Focuses on making sure that public money results in the most amount of public good. So when companies like Micron are about to receive upwards of $20 billion between federal, state, and local subsidies, back one. Jobs to Move America steps in to make sure that the most possible benefits come to the community and to mitigate any harms. So, I think one back. Yeah. Okay. So, unfortunately, Syracuse has the title for having the highest child poverty rate in the nation, which is really sad. And the rest of the city is also, I think at a 30% poverty rate. And Syracuse has had a legacy of deindustrialization. Companies like Carrier, General Electric used to employ a lot and provide good, stable union jobs, but then in the late 1900s, these companies decided to move south and elsewhere for cost-saving reasons, and has left a lot of a gap, essentially. The median household income in Syracuse is $74,000, while the suburbs are around $45,000, and that just sort of illustrates the income inequality happening. So the opportunity in front of us is huge. Like I said, Micron is getting a historic amount of investment from New York State. New York State alone is spending $5.5 billion, and Micron is projecting that 9,000 permanent workforce positions will be created over the course of 20 years. They're planning on building 4 fabs, and they project that a trickle effect of about 40,000 jobs in the economy, in the community will result in addition to the 9,000 positions. Yep. Mm-hmm. And this sort of illustrates the need to start organizing around the job quality standards and around the environmental standards now before Micron even breaks ground. As you've heard from many of the presenters earlier, what we know about the industry is that it's not all $100,000 jobs. So this is a little breakdown from the Institute of Policy Studies, a report done last fall, and it kind of reiterates the points made earlier that if you look at the titles, the density of that title in the industry and its annual wage, it's not until you're getting into some of the business and financial operations or engineering occupations that you start to see the six-figure salaries. And there's a lot of production workers that are making in the $46,000 range. Go ahead. And then also we've heard about the incredible lack of diversity in this field. I think this chart shows beautifully how in the semiconductor industry, so the blue is the US total workforce and the orange is the semiconductor industry. When it comes to black people, only 4.9% make up the workforce versus 13% generally in the US. For Latino workers, they only make up about 7.9%. And for women, they are about 24% of the field. But when you look at higher titles, like upper management titles, women only have about 14.5% of those industry executive titles go to women. And when you look at upper management titles, only 1.8% of those go to Hispanic or Black people. So this is very concerning, and this is why we need to do the organizing in advance of the hiring to make sure that we bridge these gaps. So Jobs to Move America is partnered with IUE-CWA, and we've successfully won community benefit agreements in a few different states. Alabama actually has a fleet of electric buses. New Flyer is the company, and we were able to successfully negotiate a CBA with them and laid the groundwork for all of their facilities to become unionized. So we're very grateful to have IUE-CWA's support in this campaign as well. And when I started doing this work about a year ago, this was the group that had already come together. So these are our anchor partners. Urban Jobs Task Force is a BIPOC, women-led local workforce access organization. So they're a huge core anchor partner of ours. And we're proud to have the Greater Syracuse Labor Council. And Citizen Action is an environmental justice organization. And CNY Solidarity does a lot of progressive activism. So we, last fall, were able to, we started working on the jobs issues and identified like a set of demands, essentially, that we would want Micron to commit to when it comes to these jobs. And we called it a platform. We got over 45 organizations to endorse it, and we launched it at a community town hall event. And this is from October a year ago, last year, in Syracuse. And we were able to pack the room, like standing room only. Press came, and yeah, it was a great sort of start to a public education campaign around the need for these standards and why we're doing this work before Micron has even broken ground. This is a list of some of the organizations that endorsed our key demands regarding the workforce access and the job standards, the job quality. And after that town hall, we got everyone in the room to sign on. Like, you know, we did a call to action right then and there, and then we started to do a lot of community events and flyering and started to collect signatures, and we were able to get over 420 signatures on that. And then as this year began, 2025, we focused our attention a little bit more on the environmental review process, as I mentioned, that Micron was going through. Micron had to do a statewide environmental review and a national environmental review, and we decided to expand the organizations that we were working with and pull in experts, including some of the folks in this room, like Lenny, and organizations that are part of CCU, to help us with the environmental review. We knew this report that was supposed to come out sometime in the spring was going to be potentially 20,000 pages of really technical and dense information, and legally, they have to give the public a comment period of minimum 45 days, but we knew that it would be incredibly difficult to try to read something like this in that time period and to be able to comment on it in an educated, informed way. So we started to organize who would read what section, who has subject matter expertise. So we worked with professors and organizations and subject matter experts to kind of divide up that work. You can go to the next slide. We knew before the report even came out the sort of topics that it would cover, and as you can see, there's not a single person isn't affected by at least one of these things. So in our community education work that we did in the spring, when we started to tell people, hey, did you even know that Micron is going to have an environmental review? Did you know that there's going to be concerns around traffic, around flooding, around transportation access, all these things, and people start to be like, oh, shoot, I didn't think about that, Because prior to that, I think most Syracusans were like, yay, jobs, this is an amazing economic opportunity. We've been left behind so much in the past, this is great, which is true, it could be great, and we want to make sure that it actually is, not just another corporate handout. And so here's a list of, not a complete list, but we expanded our coalition to work through the Joe Heath Law Firm with the Onondaga Nation, as well as more unions coming to the table, the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists. We have SEIU 200, SEIU 1199 representing healthcare workers. So more labor, more community, more environmental organizations are coming together so that we can partner with them beyond this DEIS review process. Sorry, the DEIS is the Draft Environmental Impact Statement Report. So we're now in the process of convening an expanded coalition that will be the basis of our Community Benefits Agreement Coalition. And we convened our first meeting this past Monday, actually. We were able to invite 10 unions, 10 community organizations, and 10 environmental organizations. And we had about 25 orgs that actually were able to attend. And we are really happy that that was the first of many meetings to come. And we hope to formally launch our coalition by the end of the month with an expanded set of demands. So these demands will include some of the workforce issues that we've talked about. We really want labor neutrality built into the Community Benefits Agreement. There's already a project labor agreement for the construction phase, but for the permanent workforce, we want to allow a pathway to unionization if the workers choose. We want a worker-led health and safety committee, because we know that OSHA regulations aren't even, biomedical exposure limits are much lower recommendations than OSHA, so we want the highest level of safety possible for our workers, and we want the workers to have a voice in that. We want targeted local hire commitments, and we want to make sure that zip codes that have the highest poverty are intentionally considered when we're talking about hiring locally, and also when we're talking about creating apprenticeship and training pathway programs, because as we've heard from some people that are in these programs, when they look around the room, it's still majority white and male. So how do we actually bring these opportunities to the people who have been historically left out or maybe not imagine themselves in these spaces? And then how do we make sure that those jobs are actually safe and good jobs and have family-sustaining wages? So we're asking Micron to report on the number of jobs by title with the wages and the benefits per each year, and not just say, oh, it's $100,000 on average for $9,000 jobs. How many of each title per year? And then we also are asking that Micron report the exact chemicals used. As we've heard, this is kept industry secret. We want them to list the exact chemicals used and the exact amounts of each chemicals used so that workers can be safe. We are asking for a community-led oversight committee because this is a 20-year-long project. Micron is making a lot of promises. Even the mitigations that we're asking for, right? Like who's gonna make sure they actually follow through? So we're asking for a community-led oversight and accountability system, environmental monitoring, and as I mentioned, because it's a 20-year project, we would like to have multiple environmental reviews to say like, hey, are the standards working? Are the mitigations good enough? Like, do we need to change our course here? And obviously technology, Moore's law, everything's gonna be so different in 2 years, so like we might need to, you know, completely rethink the technology that we're using. Another thing that we're asking for is that they commit to the fact that, like I think Jess raised this question about, you know, utility rates rising. We know that Micron's energy and water consumption is going to be insane amounts, and how do we guarantee that ratepayers and the community is not going to be stuck with that bill? We're already seeing rate hikes in Syracuse, and you know, who can ensure us that it's not because of Micron's load that like the rest of us are having to pay more? And so we also want them to commit to generating renewable energy and minimizing their contribution to the global climate crisis. So these are some of the things we're hoping to negotiate and win through this community-led community benefits coalition. And this is a photo of a workshop that I did over the summer while the public comment period was open. We worked with our partners to create like a public-facing website that would list the expert summaries for the different sections of the report because people didn't know how to make sense of it. And then we said, you know, you can use this website as a resource to submit your comments. If you go to the next slide, we were proud that over 650 comments were submitted via our portal that we created with a template and with that resource website. And yeah, we hope to keep that momentum going. So you can go to the next slide. I'm about to wrap up. So yeah, this fall and this winter, our goal is to formally launch, send a letter to Micron, tell them to come meet with us, come meet with our coalition, and we plan to win a historic community benefits agreement with Micron in New York that the rest of the country can use as an example. So, thank you.
Wow, so inspiring, great job. Couple of quick questions. How many people here met somebody new that you are going to follow up with today? Raise your hand. Yeah. How many people learned something new about the semiconductor industry? Some new insight. Yeah. And how many of you have strengthened your commitment to work together with local coalitions and with CHIPS Communities United to make this industry a high-road industry with good union jobs and responsible to the neighborhood and the environment that they're located in? Raise your hand if you're strengthened your commitment to do that today. All right.